Welcome to the Boston's Big Four podcast. Cast. New news about music and sports every week, sometimes.
Welcome back. Here we are, episode 60, episode David Andrews. We got a very special guest today. We got Aztech, half of Hybrid Thoughts, one half of Hybrid Thoughts.
Technically, it's like a
third,
quarter, I guess.
A quarter. All right.
Yeah.
All right. But Aztech,
A rotating
nonetheless.
group.
How you doing tonight?
I'm good, man. Just living that quarantine life, you know.
Yes. Oh yeah.
Like we all are.
Yes. Thanks to big shout outs to Zoom for allowing us to do this.
Yep.
Yeah, Zoom, sponsor us.
I know, right? So let's get into some background about you for those that don't know. So as I said, Hybrid Thoughts. You got a lot on your accolades list.
All that means is I'm old, man. That's all that means.
Yeah, big resume. Yeah. Just
let's if you're looking on Spotify, the first song you notice features "Relentless," "The Tangible," and "Cannabis." So let's talk about that. How you rocked with Cannabis first.
Well, that was like that was kind of, to be honest, that was kind of random. So the last project I put out was a strictly vinyl release because I've been like a vinyl collector my whole life. But that was done with a producer who's like a not hip hop producer at all. Who's a dark ambient / kind of like electronics producer.
Yeah.
A dude named Mindspawn. He was part of a group called Dirty Vegas back in like the late 90s, early 2000s. They had like a Grammy-winning song. It was called "Days Go By." Like,
yep.
Now it's like used on like every Mitsubishi commercial on the planet. But we ended up doing like a strictly vinyl release, so that wasn't like put out on streaming things or anything like that. Just like vinyl stores all have it, but that's literally the only place you can get it.
Yeah, I was gonna say when you go to your Spotify, there's only a few songs on there.
Well, the funny thing is I have like there's like 3 different names I'm under on Spotify. The main one is not that one with the Cannabis joint on it. The main one is listed under Aztech from Hybrid Thoughts. That one has like almost 8,000 monthly listeners. The one you're talking about was literally just used for the singles off that vinyl thing. Because that was put out under a different label, so they actually like put me out under a different name because it was like a totally different kind of album, like wasn't like a hip hop album. So it's kind of like a separate kind of name, which is the reason Cannabis was on that one was it was more of like a darker album. Like I've been trying to work with Cannabis for a long time because we did a bunch of shows together like way back, and he actually stayed with my brother in Cali for a while. This was back in like probably like 2004, 2005. Cannabis stayed on my brother's couch for like a weekend. Like
wow,
damn.
We were planning on doing something then. It just never really made sense until this last project. So we made it happen for that.
Dope. And speaking of which, you've not, and this isn't this isn't another way to call you old, but you've been around a long time. I mean, I can remember growing up and when I was like 13, 14, 15, and I knew the name. I hadn't met you yet, but I knew the name for sure. And you've always been a staple in to me, a staple in the New England scene. But also, you travel a lot, do shows a lot. What's been your favorite tour? I know you've done some tours overseas and everything. What's been your favorite tour overall, I guess?
I mean, my favorite place to rock like outside of like New England, I guess, is honestly the West Coast, Cali. The crowd out there is just mad receptive of like the kind of stuff I do, like, we live on the East Coast, which is real, like kind of gritty, known for the gritty stuff and all that, you know what I mean? But I've always been more of like the Native Tongues kind of guy, like jazzy kind of hip hop, like Tribe Called Quest, De La Soul kind of stuff. And even though they're from the East Coast, that style is more like kind of accepted on the West Coast because, you know, especially in the underground where you had cats like Freestyle Fellowship and all those dudes who kind of like kept that like freestyle battle era kind of scene open. And that's
Hell yeah.
kind of like where I've always kind of fit in the most. You know what I mean?
Well, because you bring up the battles too. I mean, Grind Time New England.
Yeah.
You know, I remember going to those shows back in the day. You know, even when I wasn't of age, but I was able to get in. You know, but you know, I mean, that paved the way for a lot of what's going on in New England nowadays. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, you see the battle scenes getting bigger and people starting up their own leagues and everything. I mean, you know, you put in the legwork with.
Yeah, appreciate that, man. The whole thing with like the battle scene, you know, it's changed so much that like now I still watch battles and stuff like that, but like the scene has changed to a point where I don't even really feel like it's, you know, even like in the same kind of like bracket of the reason it started or like the purpose of it. Like back in like the freestyle, you know, battle era days, which is what I originally like was involved in. You know, cats battle to promote their music mainly. You know what I mean? Or like you enter freestyle battle to promote your music. Now you have battle rappers that just strictly have careers as battle rappers. You know? And, crazy getting paid like $10,000 to battle and stuff. It's, you know,
it has like, changed. It's changed so much. It's definitely changed so much. But like those, I mean, even those battles back in the day. I mean, like, you know. You still, I mean, even like the Shark Tank we talked about before, like, you know, you've always been around. Like, I mean, like I said, you've been a staple in the scene, you know, always. And you know, when you're there, it's something, it's like a respectable show, you know, it's like, I don't know. I don't know how to put it. Like, I don't know. You go to the good shows. You know what I'm saying? I guess like
I've been to some pretty bad shows, man. But yeah.
Oh well, you know. But
yeah,
you know, you know. I mean, for the most part, you know, you're well respected around the scene, and it's I mean, it's a pleasure to have you on. I'm sorry for such a jumping right in introduction. I didn't mean to.
It's all good, man.
I didn't mean to shake the room there. You know.
So, no, that's perfect. I mean, I think that was a great intro, and that actually is a good segue for a thought I had was, so you helped kickstart a lot going on in the scene, especially locally, and you said you've been to a lot of bad shows, but Eastman says you've been to a lot of the good shows. So I'm curious, what is over the years have you seen, and are you taking some of those best practices, and like have you found that these days there aren't as many bad shows? Because of those things like you've picked up or seen not work, and some people fall off and others people shoot up, so you can kind of take like hybrids of what works, and I guess just how have you adapted in the game?
Right. I mean, show wise, I mean, it's really tough to call because, you know, show wise, you kind of just, you know, you get a call, you get booked for a show, and you just kind of show up and do your thing, you know what I mean? But as far as like generally speaking shows, I mean, they've changed like crazy, man. Like you know, you talk like back in like late 90s, even like early 2000s, you know, you'd go to a show at the Middle East, right? And there'd be like 3 acts on the bill. And then, you know, you'd have like the headliner, you know, say like a Jizza or like somebody like that. You'd have a headliner, then you'd have 2 maybe opening acts, but those 2 opening acts would be cats that like were really known on the underground. Like you'd have headliner, then you'd have like acrobatic and esoteric opening. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, and then, you know, the shift, which some people hate on the shift, but in my opinion, it was a good shift. It shifted to, you know, there being 4 or 5 opening acts on the bill, and, you know, you get to see more, you know, more of a scene develop. You know, I think that had a big hand in actually developing a scene. A lot of people will say it's oversaturated or whatnot, but like it really helped kind of develop the Boston hip hop scene because, I mean, hip hop in general has grown so much, but like you think of like, you know, there was always that tight knit, you know, community of MCs where it's like if you weren't in this circle, you weren't getting seen on stage. When now it's like there's more of an opportunity for people to kind of get involved and grow. You know what I mean? And you know, the only thing I saw you guys interview with Leeds, and he kind of touched on it perfect. It was like the importance of, you know, shows is just kind of making sure it all kind of works cohesively with, you know, you're like your opening acts and the headliner. You know,
right?
I've been to shows where, you know, for instance, Hybrid Thoughts, we did a show with Smith and Wesson. This was probably like 4 or 5 years ago. And I don't think the promoter really understood who Smith and Wesson was. You know, they're like super fucking army fatigued, fucking do push-ups, you know. But like, they had this really flashy guy kind of open up, and it was really sad to see, man. Like this crowd started like, you know, chucking ice at him and throwing the drinks at him. And this is at the Middle East where you don't really see that much. You know what I mean?
And this is for the opener. Damn, that's
exactly. And it's funny because if you actually go on YouTube, when you search Hybrid Thoughts, one of the first videos that comes up is Hybrid Thoughts Saves the Show, because we ended up going on right before Smith and Wesson, and instead of doing a set, we literally just freestyled for like 20 minutes and like kind of forced the crowd to kind of like respect that some real hip hop type shit was going on. So
that's dope.
You know, moments like that, you know, happen. That's kind of
that's awesome.
the beauty of hip hop, man. You know, you don't really get that out of a lot of other genres of music. You know?
Right.
Was that the same show with the guy?
Same show.
Oh man, so
same show.
Whew. It probably made it. I mean, if you're going on after the dude who got ice thrown at him, it can't go worse than that. So
yeah, I mean, there was definitely that like anxiety period going on. Like they're already pissed off, man. You know, we're not Smith and Wesson, so they don't want to see us either. But
it's true. All you got to do is be like, "Are you ready for them?"
Yeah, exactly.
Get them hyped up. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
Yeah, man.
But so speaking, go ahead, Jack. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, did you guys tune into the Benno Edo G Instagram Live?
Yeah, of course.
Last night?
I did.
What'd you think about it?
I mean, I'm biased, you know what I mean? Edo's my homie, man. You know
Yeah.
But I mean, you know,
I'll take Edo's music over Benzino's.
Yeah,
personally.
for sure. I mean, that's a given to me. But I will say, like, a lot of people
100%.
kind of have a vision of Benzino just because of the dumb shit he's done, like, outside of his music. You know, he's definitely had a hand in a lot of classic records that came out of here.
Yeah.
But, I mean, you know, his personality has kind of trumped all that. You know?
It's rubbed people the wrong way, yeah.
Yeah, 100%. Sure. I mean, I was watching it with my wife, actually, and, like, the best way I explained it was, you know, you're comparing, like, Benzino's got a lot of classic joints, but just when you hear the contrast between the two, like, Edo just has, like, that classic hip-hop sound, which is, like, kind of unbeatable, especially when you're going head-to-head with, you know, the more mainstream, more, you know, not to say, like, RSO and Made Men were mainstream, but, like, definitely had more of, like, a pop appeal, where Edo's was, like, straight hip-hop, you know?
It's straight hip-hop, underground hip-hop,
Like, that's, you know, that's the kind of stuff I want to hear, so.
Right.
To me, it was no contest, you know?
Yeah, no, it was over before it started to me. I agree.
Yeah, I'm third on that.
Yeah. It was great though. Like I saw, like, I mean, a lot of people tuned into it, obviously, and I saw in the comments there were just like a ton of names that I recognized just around the New England scene. Like it was kind of like everyone tuned in.
Yeah, it spawned like 4 different generations too. You had like the young cats, the new cats, the older cats were all in there last night.
It's kind of cool to see. It kind of brought everyone together.
Definitely.
Yeah,
100%.
For sure. So Hybrid Thoughts, how did you guys come together?
So Hybrid Thoughts originally formed, and I want to say 1999. I want to say, I started in '98. Hybrid Thoughts definitely came a year or two after, but it was a completely different group than it is now. You know, I was always kind of, you know, the nucleus, but it's, you know, it's gone through a whole ton of different members. You know, so I'd say like '99, around that time we started. We all grew up in the North Shore originally. You know, and I was kind of running the tracks around the North Shore, you know, cats like Relentless, you know, ST-Neck, you know, those are like the people I really came up with. And, you know, Hybrid Thoughts did their thing around there for, you know, a few years. And then I started kind of making the move, you know, down here to the South Shore. And I started messing with, you know, a lot of the cats down here. And that kind of helped you know, not to fucking pat myself, but it kind of helped bridge the gap between the North and the South Shore.
For sure.
I ended up joining a group with a bunch of cats down here. I don't know if you guys remember the Gutterheads.
Yeah,
It was myself, Oblivious, you know, Hectic, P-Ro. You know, a bunch of cats.
A whole squad.
And like, it kind of like cemented me like here, you know, like I started making music with cats down here. then I ended up moving down here, and I've been living here for over a decade. So, you know, I've kind of like transplanted myself to being a South Shore cat now. But Hybrid Thoughts, you know, we during that time where I first started coming down here, we kind of went our separate ways because we had kind of different directions we were going. And some cats stopped rhyming, joined the military, all those kinds of things. And once I started kind of getting more into like, you know, being out there, you know, I reached back out to a few cats I started with. You know, we started kind of playing with the idea of bringing Hybrid Thoughts back, and then kind of came into full fruition. And then we started working with my man Yuki Monologue, who's from Japan. He lives here as a professor at Berkeley, but him and his wife, Saucy Lady, you know, we started working with them, and they kind of ended up branching together as like a new Hybrid Thoughts, and that's kind of how the whole Japan Connect happened, and it's kind of just been that now, you know.
Yeah.
Have you worked with many Berkeley musicians, or was that just?
I actually work with them like constantly, but more for live shows, you know. Like my producer Yuki, since he's a professor there, you know, he kind of like has people on call. So like, if you see us rock with like a live band, it's like a different drummer every time, a different guitarist every time, you know. But they're all from Berkeley, you know.
Yeah,
mainly.
and session musicians are like the most talented people I think anywhere. Like to be able to, like, they're just they're hearing notes and knowing exactly what they are, just not like as if you're reading anything you've read in your life. Like it's that fluent. And I mean, I'm sure you know, like, just that is so key, especially in live performances. They can pick things
I mean,
up.
I don't even like performing like regular hip hop anymore. Like I have to, like, having a band behind you is a whole nother thing, you know. And
it changes
and
everything.
It's just like, you know, the intricacies like involved in like working with a band is so like mind blowing sometimes, when you don't even have to really say anything to them, but they kind of just know where to stop, where to pick you up, you know, where to like drop out to like let you accent more and things like that. You know, you don't really you can get that with a DJ, but the DJ has to know you and know your music.
Yeah.
You know what I mean, whereas like a band can kind of just feel it organically and you know, move in and out.
I always say
hip hop artists have started using bands now.
Yeah, exactly. And I always say, like, if you're watching a band, like, look at how the bassist and the drummer, they're like usually talking, like they're in conversation, like while they're playing a song, just because it's that type of groove. I mean, especially if they're good. Not everyone, sometimes people are focusing on their instrument, but I mean, just obviously we're going to get into the Japan part of that, but Berkeley caught my ear. It's just like, I always say, like, working with high caliber musicians, I mean, has a lot to do with coming out with a high quality product.
Yeah, no, it makes a world of a difference, man.
Yeah.
So you mentioned before the podcast, we talked about it a little bit, that you've done soundtracks for anime shows.
Mm-hmm.
How'd that come about?
So far I'm working on my fourth right now, but so I want to say it was 2015 we started working with Yuki, the producer from Japan, and we started just kind of making what ended up just being a Hybrid Thoughts album. It took a while, but it was like a completely like shift for us. You know, we had already been around for 20 years at that point almost. And, you know, at that point we kind of just shifted our entire sound to almost get pushed in a new place, like as a whole new group, even though we're all kind of old. But Japan, you know, we ended up signing a deal with this label in Japan for this album, which we started working on in like 2015, 2016, and it came out 2017. It was called Monologue Presents Hybrid Thoughts. And that kind of set a foundation for Hybrid Thoughts in Japan, where like, I actually posted the memory the other day. It was 1 week. This is kind of when it all kind of became clear for me that, you know, like I said, I've been an underground artist in Boston for 20 years, and it's kind of just kept me at a standstill, right? And then literally in Japan for less than a year, we were working for more than that, but less than a year, we put this out, and I get a picture at like 1 o'clock in the morning one day of us on the stands at Tower Records going head to head with Kendrick Lamar when he put the Damn album out. Like that week, you know, the top 4 albums was like, there was a jazz hip hop album that was #1, Hybrid Thoughts was #2, and then Kendrick and Run the Jewels were 3 and 4 that week.
No
And,
shit.
So
That's incredible.
There was actually one day where we beat Kendrick Lamar and Run the Jewels. That's how our records.
That's amazing.
And I will talk about that day for the rest of my life.
Yeah, I
That's
would
a
As
win,
you
too.
yeah.
should.
It lasted a day, but it's all good. You know?
So what do you attribute that to? Being able to get that kind of exposure out there.
To be honest, it's like, honestly, I don't even really know how to fully explain it. It's just because, you know, as long as I've been making music here, I've never had like a machine behind me pushing. I did over there, and we did over there, you know. And I think a lot of that is attributed to like the different taste in music, really, because Japan, I mean, don't get me wrong, like pop culture is crazy in Japan, but when it comes to like music, especially hip hop heads, they're not really into like the pop. They're into like the more like kind of underground hip hop over there.
Yeah, I've heard that about a lot of different countries.
Europe,
like
Japan,
in Europe,
like,
Europe's
all,
that way too.
yeah.
Yeah, they're more into the underground stuff. Like there
They
are a
really
lot of
are,
rappers.
and,
There are a lot of American rappers, underground rappers, who are more popular in Europe than they are here.
oh, for sure. There's underground rappers even from Boston that
Right.
you know can't sell out a 100-person venue here, but
Like Edo goes over to
Edo
Europe,
go
right?
to Denmark and sell out a 500 capacity
Right.
venue with nothing.
Right.
You know, here it's tough to even fill the Middle East upstairs now. You know.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that created like a foundation for us in Japan and kept us kind of circulating. And from that, our producer Yuki got a job with Toho Animation, which is an anime company that puts out like everything. They've put out like Dragon Ball Z and Cowboy Bebop and all these big name animes. And
Are you an anime fan?
yeah, growing up I was definitely. I mean, I'm a nerdy Asian kid, you know what I mean?
So prior to that connection, you already had like some interest in anime, so that must have helped at least as far as knowing how to score.
Yeah, for sure. So like it started with like there was this first show, it was called Kekai Sensen, and in America it's called Blood Blockade Battlefront. And the first season Yuki kind of handled the score, and Saucy, who's a singer in our group, she had a solo track on the soundtrack. And then came around to season 2, and Yuki handled the score again, and this time they wanted like a hip hop track. So myself and Paranom, who are, you know, 2 members of Hybrid Thoughts, we got called in to do a song. It was a song called Block Scholars, and it was used on the first episode of the 2nd season of that show. And that was the first one. And like, you know, we just went in there. We didn't really have a concept or anything. They just told us to write and rap to this beat. So we did, and then we didn't really think nothing of it. We didn't know it was like a real anime. We didn't know if it was like some low budget kind of whatever. You know, we did it, you know, I mean, not to be a dick, but, you know, we got a paycheck. We went in there, we recorded, and we left. And then we started seeing promo for the anime come out. We're like, oh, this is like a real, like actually like, you know, huge kind of thing. And that came out. And from that, you know, so many people dug the hip hop and anime have kind of always gone hand in hand, you know. You think with like the RZA and the Afro Samurai stuff and all that.
Right.
Yeah.
So they really dug that. And then another show came along called Dr. Stone. And this one was when the production team from Japan flew to Boston to work on the soundtrack with Yuki, and they called us in for that. And this one, you know, was even bigger. It was like this one is actually on Adult Swim now. It's been on Adult Swim.
That's dope.
Wow.
And they
That's awesome.
And this one was a lot different too, because they didn't want like straight hip hop on this one. They wanted us rhyming, but we were rhyming over like weird like score music, you know, like orchestra kind of stuff and a lot of different stuff. And we ended up on 6 songs on that soundtrack. It was the whole crew too, like myself, Paranom, Cass, Saucy, Yuki. We were all on that. And that one got even bigger. Like the numbers you see like on my Spotify when you go to the Aztech from Hybrid Thoughts Spotify, like people keep talking about how high my numbers are, but that is, I can't even like take credit because that is 100% because of that soundtrack. And like, you know, I think like one of the vids on YouTube has like almost 1 million hits on it now, and it's like my solo track from the soundtrack. And you know, these anime fans continuously make playlists and stuff like that, and it keeps it like circulating like crazy. And now, you know, it's got to the point where if Toho Animation needs any kind of like hip hop or rapping, they're calling us now. And
hell yeah,
I just
you're their guys.
The hip hop
awesome.
guys for sure.
Yep.
I just started about 4 or 5 nights ago working on another one, but this one is actually the first one where I'm not actually physically rapping on it. I'm actually just writing for it now.
Okay.
And it's definitely different, but it's a lot of like weight lifted off my shoulders because, you know, I can write something for somebody and then they can kind of interpret it the way they see fit, you know, because people I'm writing for are actually from Japan and don't really technically speak English, you know, so they're kind of just imitating the sounds I'm doing. So it makes it a little easier. And, you know, I'll take that kind of work every day, man, you know.
There you go.
Much easier than, you know, racking my brain trying to write an album now, you know, so it's
Yeah.
And
a
hey,
lot more beneficial too.
Before we get much further, you brought up the Spotify again, and I do feel like I disrespected you. I'm sorry about that. No, I was like, because I was like,
honestly,
what the fuck?
That's so commonly done, like, because people will look me up and like, which one is fucking you? I see like 4 different names here, and like,
Well,
that's
when I
all
look,
do with like being things getting put out under different labels, you know, and like every label kind of wants to make as much as they can off you, so they're making their own sector of me, all these different directions. You know what I mean? So like, some of them have failed miserably. You know what I mean? But
well, it's funny. That was like, I don't know if it was the first one, and I'm pretty sure it was the only one that popped up when I looked at it. I don't know. But I was like, because I remembered, I was like, I know he put out like way more songs than this, and I've heard more songs than this, so I don't know why it's only got 2 songs. But I'm like, what the?
Yeah, no, that was one of the ones that didn't do very well. Not attributed to me at all, you know. But
no, yeah.
But that was the one you're thinking of is the one that says Aztech I think.
Yeah.
And, they you know, that was for the mainly like one project that I did.
Yeah, that vinyl project. So speaking of vinyl, like, you know, and you know, Hybrid Thoughts starting up in '99, you being around in '98. Obviously, you grew up in like, I don't know what a lot of people would classify as the golden era. It was when you were coming up back in the essence of hip hop, and you know, what do you obviously hard work, but what else do you attribute to your longevity?
Honestly, as corny as it sounds, just like the love I have for the culture, man. You know, before I was a rapper, I was a b-boy. You know what I mean? Like I was breakdancing before I was rhyming. So like, you know, it kind of, you know, that kind of naturally put me in a certain kind of position with hip hop. You know, where plus the neighborhood I grew up in was, you know, immersed in hip hop. Like every kid who grew up in the projects will tell you the same thing. You know, you're especially during that era, you're immersed in hip hop, you know, nonstop. And that's pretty much, it was always just like, there was nothing else that really, you know, there's a handful of things that have stuck with me through life. There's hip hop, you know, there's fucking comic books, martial arts, and probably like pro wrestling. That's what I've watched my entire life. Those are the things that have stuck with me, and that's pretty much it. You know? So like, out of those things, I'm clearly not gonna, you know, be a pro wrestler. I'm not gonna be a comic book writer, you know. So hip hop's kind of, although I almost became a pro wrestler at one point, but
oh really?
No shit.
Yeah, I had signed up to go to Killer Kowalski School of Wrestling, and I took like 2 bumps, and I was like, no way, not happening. But but yeah, hip hop has just been it for me, you know.
Yeah.
Whether it was, you know, b-boying, rhyming, you know, just being involved in the scene, you know. There was times where I took breaks from music and I was just like a scenester, you know what I mean? I was just always around, you know. People always saw me around. Like, you talk to Acrobatic, you were like, I remember you trying to sneak in shows when you were 16 years old, you know what I mean? And I was that old school, like that old school vibe where like I would literally stand outside of the Middle East as a teenager and try to hand these dudes my cassette tapes and like burn CDs and stuff, you know?
Yeah.
You know, which is actually how, shout out to my man Hectic. That's actually how we got on our first Middle East show. Was we didn't get booked. We stood outside of the back door. It was when Jedi Mind Tricks were like on their second tour ever. We stood at the back door and like threw music at Vinny Paz and Just a Lot at the time, and they put us on just due to the you know,
the hustle
that we had. Yeah. So that's the kind of stuff you don't see anymore because you don't really need to see that anymore. You know, you got some change.
You know, we've mentioned that with on the podcast with social media and just the different lanes you can take to get recognized. It's not just about
crazy,
that,
man. You know, I for a while I was actually a high school teacher. I was a high school music teacher, and I always told my students, you know, you guys have no excuse. You can push a button and get your shit out to, you know, millions of people. I used to literally have to, go to downtown Crossing with a backpack and,
Hand out.
beg people to give me like
Right.
literally $3 for a CD,
and not reach nearly as many people as you
Not
would
even close.
now.
I'd be lucky if
posting
3
shit
or 4
online.
people went home with my shit that day.
Right, right.
Crazy. Different days, man. But
Yeah. So
it's a good thing, though, I think.
Oh yeah, I think look right now we're able to do a podcast and we're all in different places. It's amazing. But sorry, I want to just rewind it back a little bit back to the anime. I had a 2-parter question for scoring. First, it starts off with an opinion because I know some animes will do this, and a couple examples are like Full Metal Alchemist and Brotherhood, and then Dragon Ball Z and Dragon Ball Z Kai. Do you have a favorite on either one of those, like if you're familiar with them? Have you ever been involved in a project where the score was a show that existed, so there was an existing score, and are you supposed to mimic that, or is there like a new breath you're supposed to put into it? Like I'm just curious because I don't know if every anime does that, or I know that it's kind of fan bases can kind of push for reboots, so they happen so every so often. So I was just curious.
Sure. Well, so far what I've worked on, honestly, like every single one that I've worked on has been originally a manga that was adapted to an anime. So I haven't worked on any reboots yet, or even anything that. The only thing that existed was the first one I did was season 2 to a show. So I did have the first season to kind of go off and like what kind of what kind of music they called for in that, which was like the jazzy hip hop stuff, which what I do anyways. Out of the ones you named, Full Metal Alchemist is definitely my joint. I was always a Dragon Ball head too, but I was always more into like the kind of different kind of older / more obscure animes like Tokyo Godfathers and like Ninja Scroll, those kind of joints, and the old kind of weird, more like samurai-ish, like when anime was more geared towards like martial art, like ninja kind of stuff. Then it's kind of grown to like everything from high school to like fantasy lands, and the last one I did was about post-apocalypse, and it was you definitely don't have to search for content because animes are so full of content anyways. Like I said, these ones are based off of mangas, so I could read 3 pages of the manga and know what it's about and kind of just go off on a tangent. So that's what I mean about making it a little easier, because when I'm writing a song for like a regular album, I have to sit down, think of a concept, think of this, that, and the other, and then, start writing, and hopefully something comes out of it. Whereas this, I have something exact to write about and something exact to rap about. So it's just a lot easier, man.
Yeah.
I'd rather
keeps you in like the like not like but like when they say you go down a YouTube rabbit hole, it keeps you in the same rabbit hole the whole time. You like tunnel vision,
Yeah, exactly.
And just glides over the paper, huh?
Yes, sir.
So what's I know we had talked about this a little bit, but so you just you released some stuff and then you had to pull it back. But what's up next for Hybrid Thoughts and you as aside from the anime? What's up like as far as straight music? What can we what can the people expect?
So I'm hoping to, before all this, pandemic shit happened, we're planning on doing another Hybrid Thoughts album this year. Now it's kind of up in the air if it's going to be able to be finished this year or not. And everybody's kind of working on, and the thing about like this happening is now I've kind of got hit with more anime work, which is probably going to take me through the rest of the year, honestly. I'm hoping it will. And, but I'm hoping to put some stuff out, whether it be Hybrid Thoughts stuff or solo stuff. I'm supposed to be working on an EP with Cloak and Dagger, Matthias and Gretz. I'm supposed to be doing an EP with them. Doing an EP with Slant from Headshots. It's just we're the only 2 Korean MCs in the city, and we've never done like an actual project together, so we feel like it's kind of time,
That's dope. Yeah,
those 2 are definitely on the list. Like I'm hoping they would be finished by the end of the year, but still with all this now, who knows? But
For
There is
real.
actually one thing I haven't even really announced it yet, but 13 years ago, I put out a mixtape called The Dusty Stereo, and it was like the first mixtape I put out that kind of made any imprint on the scene. And I don't know if you're familiar, Melody from Headshots and P-Ro did their own kind of like local producer battle like a week ago. Like the first like four songs both of them played were off that mixtape, so like it kind of brought me back, and I was like, you know what, maybe I should just put out volume 2 13 years later. So I'm going to,
Hell yeah.
That's
and that's
awesome.
gonna be stuff that like is kind of just laying around that I can compile together and put out. That is like I've talked to you about, Easty. Like a lot of my stuff has gotten pulled off, due to like labels and being pushed a certain way. So now I have like the opportunity to kind of just re-release a lot of stuff. So
You got your own freedoms.
yeah, exactly.
And I'm hoping that this release inspires Dr. Dre to release Detox.
Yeah.
And then we'll finally get those late releases.
No, there's no more Detox.
I don't even know if I'd want to hear Detox now.
Yeah.
Oh, he released
know, right?
he released an album a few years ago. Like
Compton, right?
Compton, yeah.
Compton, yeah.
I think that was like the new Detox. I think he scrapped Detox.
Yeah, it was like his replacement for Detox.
I think he did say that. I was just messing. But honestly, I'm a huge fan of secret albums, so I do admire that. Like that you kept the project, and now it's like it will come out. So
yeah, exactly.
That's huge. Anyone who's like a
maybe
true
sprinkle
fan,
some new stuff in there, and some unreleased collabs that I have. I've got a lot of collabs with quote unquote big names that I've never seen the light of day. So maybe I should just put them out. Stop hanging on them,
put them out.
So,
put them out.
Might as well, right?
or charge people Skrelly bucks, and then they'll start paying for
Skrelly
it.
bucks.
Skrelly.
Well, yeah, how it's. I mean, it's perfect to call it Dusty Stereo. I mean, you
exactly.
say tracks are old. It fits perfect.
Yeah,
whatever.
It works.
Yeah.
So what's your relationship with Ed OG?
That's my dude, man. We originally met just back in the day. So I first met him. There used to be this freestyle battle event called Critical Breakdown back in the day.
Yeah.
And I was like a teenager, and I used to enter the battles there. And during this time, there was one person. I mean, like we said earlier, Benzino, whatever. But like, there was one person that I knew of that legitimately did something that was from here. Like Ed OG had a gold record out. And nobody to this day, no Boston rapper has had a #1 Billboard song besides
Ed OG got props from Jay-Z at one point.
That's what I mean. Like Mos Def and Method Man have all like Beyonce jacked the name of one of his songs, Bugaboo. You know what I mean?
Really? That's crazy. That's crazy.
But I met him originally at Critical Breakdown back in the day when I was battling, and I'd see him throughout the scene here and there. And then when we got the opportunity to do a Grind Time division in Boston, the Grind Time reached out and they wanted me and Ed OG specifically to run the division. So we kind of started working like directly with each other, and kind of from there on we've just been homies. But we got dealt a pretty bad hand with the Grind Time division because we got a division as Grind Time started to kind of fall and collapse. But a lot of good things did come out of there. We booked 40 bars in her first battle. Now she's huge. You know what I mean?
Yep.
We had Chilla, who's obviously doing his thing. Maroney's first battle was Grind Time New England, all that. So that's what I mean about the battle scene changing. Because when we were running that Grind Time division, you started to see this shift, obviously from the obvious like written, freestyle to the written, but you started to see more of like people like thirsty to kind of like, well, it's almost like wrestling, people start developing storylines and characters and like behind the scenes promos and all this stuff, and it just got too much for me, man. And I kind of I eased back slowly. But even after Grind Time folded, I was working for this website called rapgrid.com, which was kind of like an ESPN type thing for battle rap.
Yeah.
So they'd have me on site at these, big battles, and they'd have me interviewing people and all this stuff. And it got a little too like, I'm not a media person, so it got a little too like much for me. I don't really care, so I don't want to. I have to like search for questions to ask these people that I don't, really want to talk to in the first place. So
right. You don't care to know the answer to it.
So I continued to try to do that, but Edo was just like, look, man, if we can't really just do anything, like I don't want to be involved. So Edo's, that's the OG, man. He doesn't have to really try to do anything these days or try anything new. So, I don't really fault him for not giving a shit about that. But that's my dude, man. I spoke to him a couple of days ago, right before. He actually just tagged me in this picture of a show we did over a decade ago. I completely forgot about it. It was him. It was him, Master Ace, and myself, man. And that was
Damn,
the
that's
legendary
fire.
show, man. Back
I
in
was
the
just
old
about to say his album with Master Ace is one of my favorite albums.
Yeah, for sure. Same. That's probably my favorite project he's put out.
Yeah, that shit's
Like
fire.
overall, aside from like the original.
EC and I used to bump that back in high school.
Oh yeah.
The
Yep.
Little Young joint. That was
Little
the
Young.
joint.
Yep.
That was the joint. Yeah, that's the homie, man. Definitely.
Word.
That was the homie.
Yeah, he's a legend. He's definitely
For sure.
the most, if not one of the most respected MCs in Boston, for sure.
Yeah, 100%. 100%.
Yeah.
And we kind of like think we kind of like overlook that here too, because even outside of here, like I Gotta Have It was such a big song. And like they did the Yo MTV Raps reunion like a year ago, and they had him come out and do that song, and like people forget that song was really like literally that big. It was number one Billboard.
Right.
And this is a guy we still see
That's crazy.
kind of hanging out in Roxbury, you know what I mean?
Right.
This dude was literally Billboard charting like, the same years as like MC Hammer and shit, you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's crazy. I mean, he's definitely a legend, and would you say that's one of your favorite shows you ever did? That Master Ace?
I did. I don't really remember, to be honest. I don't even like really recall that show that much, man. I was doing a lot of drugs during that time in my life, but I mean, my
happens.
Yeah.
favorite show. I mean, there's a lot, man. All the shows I've done. There's been a whole lot. I would have to say, I mean, that Smith and Wesson one I talked about earlier was definitely a classic show.
Yeah.
The first show we did with Jedi Mind Tricks was really dope.
I didn't mean to put you on
what my favorite
like
show
that,
was?
though.
It was MOP. When we did a show with MOP, and
That's fire.
I was there. Obviously, Hybrid Thoughts we went on right before MOP, and then when they did Annie Up, me and Slant they had me and Slant do the hook for Annie Up.
Oh shit.
It's fire.
That's legendary. Yeah, that's awesome.
That's dope.
That was dope. That was probably my favorite show I've ever done. I mean, it's hard to.
That's amazing.
Yeah, that's it. That's hard to top.
Yeah, I mean, I've literally, no exaggeration, I've probably done close to like 900 shows in my life. So it's like it's really hard to kind of like pinpoint one. You know what I mean?
Obviously, that one stands out though.
But
do you perform any of the anime music at all?
There's one song. Me and Paranorm always perform Block Scholars at shows because that's out of all the songs we've done for song, that's the one that would make sense to do live. The other ones just would be way too weird to do at a hip hop show.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense.
How'd you link up with Paranorm?
We're from the same area, man. Lynn, Mass.
Lynn, yeah. We had him on the podcast recently.
Yeah, I've seen that. Yeah, that's the homie too.
Good dude.
Yeah, I mean, he naturally we run in the same circles, man. So his style kind of just naturally linked with ours. That smooth, jazzy kind of hip hop stuff. Yeah, which just kind of a perfect match. And it started with just him collabing with us a lot, and then just being part of Hybrid Thoughts. Hybrid Thoughts here was always just like a group of 4 people that did shows and stuff. In Japan, they kind of promote us as like a collective, so kind of like a Wu-Tang type thing where there's like a giant amount of people, and that's like Hybrid Thoughts as a whole. Like here you have like me, Yuki, Cass, Paranorm, that's Hybrid Thoughts. In Japan, Hybrid Thoughts is me, Paranorm, Yuki, Saucy Lady, Relentless, H Rhymes. There's like 9 of them that we can. Pretty much everyone that was featured on that album, they consider in Hybrid Thoughts out there. Okay. So you see like pictures like at Tower Records of us, they say Hybrid Thoughts, and it's like a giant group of people.
That's interesting.
So, yeah.
That's
a lot different than what I created in my friend's basement in '99. That's for sure.
So you've been to Japan then for this?
Honestly, for music, I haven't really done too much music over there. Really, like I said, I lived in Korea, so like I've been all around Asia. You know what I mean? But like a lot of the, I was planning on being out there for a grip of time this year. But due to all this, I don't know when I'm going to be able to get out there now. But but like the bulk of the work we've done in Japan has been done here. But we have members that go back and forth from here to Japan all the time. So there's definitely a lot of traveling happening. But music wise, it's it's another thing I heard Leeds touch on in your interview with him, and it makes so much sense. You know, it's like if you're gonna break the bank to travel and do music, it has to be more worth it. You know, so like the label we're under in Japan, you know, they're not gonna bring us out there unless they feel like it's completely worth it at a certain point in time. You know, because a lot of cats, you know, will pay their own way and go overseas. Like they'll save money for a year and they'll pay their own way to go out there, and you know, that's cool and everything, and I mean I've done that as well, you know what I mean. But when you're under like a label, or you're under, you know, a certain kind of company that's pushing you, it has to be worth it, like an investment to them to kind of to bring you out there and make sure like they don't want to fly us out there, then 50 people show up and then they're not making any money, and then like they just spent thousands of dollars to get us out there, you know, and then like, you know, so it has to really be worth it. And
I'm gonna write them some letters, because based on what I've heard, it sounds like you'd sell out some shows there. So
we definitely got like that's why we were planning on going out there this year, you know, more. And like we've been to. I mean, the first show I ever did, first time I ever performed in front of anyone was in Korea. That was the first time I ever held a microphone and rapped in front of anyone.
That's crazy.
And what age was that?
13, I want to say. 13, 14 years old.
Right where we're at our most fragile emotionally. That's where,
or you're most careless.
Yeah, that can make or break.
100%.
That can make or break the career. Yeah, I'm glad it went well. That's good.
But yeah, like I said, Asia's definitely like they love like underground, like real underground hip hop over there. And obviously, there's other things that come like K-pop, you know, blew up from Korea over here, but that's a whole separate kind of entity. You know what I mean? But yeah, man, I mean, you know, doing shows out of state, out of the country is definitely like the move for people who make the kind of music we do. It's just it's tough to
I've been noticing that for a few years now. Just that,
for sure.
Like you said, artists like Ed O.G., like and M. Dot, like they go overseas and they get more love over there than they do over here.
Yeah, I mean that's a given. It's been like that for quite a while, man.
Yeah.
Even when like underground hip hop was popping here. In Europe, especially Europe, if anywhere, man, like they've always been a leg up on loving that kind of music. Cause I don't know, maybe it's just like they got like kind of like a grimier mentality over there, man. You know, like
I wonder why that is. Makes you
who knows,
think.
man? I think it's just like the lifestyle over there is different. You know, you know, we may think we live in a crazy, you know, rough country, but I mean, I've done enough traveling to know, man, we got it freaking good, man. You know, we got it pretty good over here. You know, take that from somebody who's from another country, you know.
Right.
It's definitely not, you know, I mean, we live in a corrupt ass country, don't get me wrong, but like you go to other countries and, you know, some fucked up shit happening, man, you know.
Yeah.
So.
Oh yeah. So you had mentioned earlier your brother's on the West Coast. So you done performances out there?
Oh yeah.
You been performing out there?
Oh yeah, a lot.
You live out there
more shows in Cali than anywhere like that's not, you know, New England. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah, I've done all over Cali, the Bay, LA, in between. You know, and then there's been random places too in between. You know, I mean, I've touched so many places, man, in inside the country and out of the country, man. It's hard to really, you know, pinpoint them all, but I'd say the weirdest one was probably like I did this show in like the middle of nowhere in Michigan. It was like what was promoted to us as a music festival, and it was like at some dude's barn in like the middle of like, rural ass Michigan. It was like Texas Chainsaw Massacre kind of shit, but
that's kind of dope though.
Things like that happen when you get booked out of state because you don't really know.
How was that show? How was the show?
Horrible.
Horrible.
One of the worst shows ever. Yeah.
Did you guys have a good time at least? I feel like
we had a good time, like driving to and from there. You know what I mean? But,
yeah.
Being there, I mean that's a crazy story, man. I mean, you don't really have to get into that, but a lot of crazy stuff happened.
That's another podcast.
Yeah, it really is. But that was just an example because like things like that happen when you're
right,
you know, in unknown territories or someplace you don't know and you're not comfortable, and
it can be dangerous.
Crazy things happen, and yeah, for sure.
So if you think about it, you kind of like how you had said before, like you kind of, you know, not to pat yourself on the back or anything, but I'm giving you the pat on the back that you brought the North and South Shore together, which isn't an easy thing to do. But you also just like you said, you've touched on a lot of places, you've touched a lot of stages, and been around a lot of places, traveled a lot. What do you ever think about your music being a driving force and connecting all these things, all these different things, connecting all different sides of the world?
I mean, I guess you don't really think about that until it kind of happens. You know what I mean? And I'm grateful that I'm even able to I've been making music for 3/4 of my life, man. So like it's even the fact that I'm able to do that like now, and like even just comfortably make it and not have to worry too much. It's pretty crazy. I mean, I don't really like things like that. I don't really think about until someone else kind of brings it up to me, and then like I kind of sit there and think like, damn, that's kind of crazy. You know what I mean?
I didn't mean to put you on the spot, but
Well,
I guess
no,
this
it's
is kind of
cool,
what the
but, I mean,
podcast about.
I mean,
Yeah, no,
to find
cool,
any
man.
stability in the music industry is definitely something that takes skill and a lot like time, and to really find that spot, because so many musicians and any people involved in the music industry have vapid careers. Like it might fizzle out and it looks great, like big and bright, and then all of a sudden
Right.
there's nothing still going. So
I mean, time passes like really fast too, man. So like trying to like get what you can like while you can is kind of like the most difficult part about it, man. You know what I mean? Like finding ways to continue to do what you love, but like not neglect another part of your life, or like not neglect the people in your life. It's that's the toughest part about it all, man. And certain things like what I'm doing now, like you find a way. Like to be honest, man, like I mean, I'll be making hip hop forever, but like there's only so long you can jump from stage to stage and go crazy and
Oh yeah.
jump off stage and do all these crazy things. And like I'm you get older, man, and like I said, time's passing so fast, to find different ways to continue to do what you love but not destroy yourself over it. That's the toughest thing, man.
yeah, it's funny. It's even like not even like necessarily music, but you see it specifically in rock stars, pop stars, rap stars. Like people kind of do wither away in their 20s and 30s, and then you see them trying to fix themselves in the 40s, 50s onwards, and they're like living this. Like you see Steve-O, he's been sober for years, and he's like a healthy guy now, and like but you watch him before, and you're like, oh my god, like he was such a star. Like for some reason, we think destroying ourselves is a star, but I do think it's changing.
It's like Eminem too.
Yeah, exactly. Eminem.
Sure.
I mean, there's honestly Elton John, countless like examples of people that were just off the rails, and that's when they were their most famous. And because it's kind of entertaining to watch a train wreck, and to some extent,
yeah, exactly.
But
that's why reality TV is so big now.
It's
true.
Yeah.
And a talented train wreck, nonetheless, is even more entertaining. So that's like I think where there has to be some balance, where like you get some artists that might portray themselves as a little crazier, but then they're really like, honestly, I don't think Snoop Dogg is smoking as much as he looks like on camera. You know what I mean? Like I think
He said he smokes 81 blunts a day. I don't believe it.
I
can't
don't
be
know
real.
if that's humanly possible.
I don't think that's possible. First of all, that's like, who would want to do that? That's
Yeah,
too many
not me.
blunts.
And I
Yeah.
love
Too many
weed.
blunts.
No, I would never do that.
You can only get so high. At a certain point, it just becomes pointless.
Yeah. So I do think there is like a trend in like entertainment in general to just like be healthy, because it's a lot of, especially these days with legality has kind of crept further and further in, like because celebrities are role models, and anyone who's in any type of spotlight, if you're promoting an unhealthy lifestyle, you're technically in some ways responsible for like younger generations doing that. So it is kind of something that I think a lot of artists try to see ahead of time, and they don't want to just come across as like, hey, just do drugs all the time. Like you don't,
Right.
I mean, you hear it still, but it's not every song. Like I feel like maybe I'm generalizing, but that type of lifestyle, or just, I mean, you kind of mentioned that just as far as going crazy stage life, like you can't just do that all the time, like as a party, but treat it more like a job, like rest, get right off stage, like
Yeah, exactly.
party all night.
And I think like, Mac Miller and Lil Peep and Juice World and all that, all those people passing has kind of like brought a light to that a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, you definitely seen like the decline of like, a few years ago, there was a stint where like every new rapper was just rapping about pills and,
Right.
Yeah.
the Xanax and all that stuff.
Right.
And this just happens like obviously naturally.
Yeah.
there was always the contrast where, like, the young cats would always try to bring up, like, guys who came up in the 80s and 90s was smoking crack. I'm like, that's true, but the difference was we weren't rapping about smoking crack.
Nobody was glorifying smoking crack.
Exactly.
Nobody was
So
glorifying that. Nobody was saying,
that's the difference, so there was no influence for people that listened to hip hop to smoke crack.
Right. It became cool at a certain point to
So
get
switch
fucked
it
up.
the other way, and then now, you got kids dying off of pills and shit. So
right.
It's a messed up situation. Hip hop that shows hip hop's kind of bold on the world now, man, and mainstream society in general. Like, recently, it was a few years ago, hip hop became like the number one most like listened to genre of music in the world now, and like to think that that's even reality from when like hip hop started, the potential that has, like hip hop has potential to literally. This may sound corny, but like hip hop legitimately has like the potential to change the world because there's such strong like voices within hip hop and strong voices within like conveying messages in hip hop. So that's why like young cats get mad and they say old heads get preachy, but it's because we know that there's like a strength within hip hop to do that. You know what I mean? And when hip hop was created in 1973, you know what I mean? Like it was never even meant to make it out of that neighborhood. So to now it be the number one most listened to genre of music in the world, people should kind of realize the power of that, man. And like, this was literally made to get people to listen to what the hell people were going through in a certain neighborhood. And now it's made it to mainstream society where like you got suburban kids, rapping about whatever now. And it's like that literally came from that,
Right.
Yeah.
So talk about like kind of the divide between old heads and young cats these days in hip hop, and how do you think like we can bridge that gap and kind of like get people on a common ground?
I think it's more about just listening like to each other, man, because I mean it's not all young heads' fault. Like old heads get mad, like stern and stingy, you know what I mean?
Right.
Like we'll refuse to even take anything serious. I know so many people that refuse to even give the new stuff a chance, and there's a lot of dope new hip hop, man. There really is, Even I don't even mean like cats from, the other era that are coming back and making music now, but I mean like brand new cats that are dope. People just gotta, listen, man, and listen to each other, and old heads shouldn't write young cats off like they don't know anything, and young cats shouldn't write old heads off like they're stuck in a time warp.
Right.
You know what I mean? But like it's more about just listening to each other and just kind of. It's, like I said, it's cliche, but just opening your mind up, man.
Yeah, everyone has something to offer. There's perspective on both sides.
Absolutely.
Something to offer from both ends of it,
Yeah, it's
Yeah, definitely. I think the sooner people realize that, the more the sooner we'll all kind of find that common ground, because you hate to see that when, I always hate to see that when young dudes and old dudes are like going at it. It's just like
happens a lot.
Yeah,
it happens a lot.
I think it has a lot to do with maturity levels, though. Like you see young guys, like they might not be thinking about the future as much as they probably should. Like guys, especially like anyone I would say that's like in their still 18, 19, like just getting in. Maybe they've done a few club shows, like, and they're just like wilding. I have to admire that they're having fun. Like it's not. You're supposed to have fun. You're not supposed to just like have your nose to the grindstone and like be up like this is my work like all the time. So definitely have fun with it, like, and be a little like nuts, but it's the like being nuts and like not respecting the sound man or like certain things. Like you have to have a presence when you're performing that is also something that people can respect, and not just like that's the guy that we don't know what he's going to do every time he performs. So I think like especially older generations having experienced that, they're like, hey, tighten up, bro. And like,
right, exactly.
But the young kids like,
you're
I'm
young,
fine.
You're young, you can have your fun and everything, but like also understand that the people who have been around much longer than you know more than you do, and you should listen to them. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. I mean, there's just like a big, like I said, I taught a high school class, so like I've heard these words so many times, and it's like, yeah, but you're not rich. You know what I mean? You're sitting here talking to me. You know what I mean? And that's what I mean about like developing an understanding of like, because hip hop is on a completely another level now. Like you have that chance to make that difference, man. So that's what I'm trying to tell you. You know what I mean? Like, you have a chance to make a difference. I didn't really have a chance to make a difference because it wasn't
different
as
world
easy.
now.
Like, you know, I wasn't able to press a button and talk to millions of people. You know,
Yep.
it was whoever was in front of me at the time. So like, that's kind of like the point I try to convey the most to them. And a lot of it's just like, you know, blabber from an old head. You know, they don't really want to hear that. But
Does some of them understand that, or?
But I was about to say though, there is like more than I think we think. You know, a lot of kids do know more than we think. You know, and I learned that like the first year I taught, man. Like one of the first things I always did was with the classes I'd start with hip hop history, and then I would go through the eras of like, you know, the beginning to the golden era to, you know, the post golden era to all that. And
it sounds like a great class. Like, I would have loved this class as a kid.
It was fun teaching, man, for sure. And a lot what I learned was like a lot of these kids do appreciate it because a lot of their parents are my age, right? So like, you know how like when I was a kid growing up, I mean my parents, I mean, my mother was, you know, not from this country, so it was different. But like typically when you go to a friend's house, their parents were listening to things like, you know, the Beatles and like classic rock and things like that, and like, you know, classic R&B like Marvin Gaye and things like that. And you would yourself develop an appreciation for that a little bit, at least the way it sounds sonically, you know. And then that's kind of the case for them because their parents, you know, they're my age, so their parents were listening to Wu-Tang and Nas and Biggie. So like they now know this music because of their parents, and like they kind of, a lot of them, you know, gathered an appreciation for it. And there's a lot of smart kids, man. A lot of these kids know that this is clearly, you know, art, you know, versus things that clearly are not, you know what I mean? And I was pleasantly surprised. You know, there's students that, you know, I stopped teaching a few years ago, but there's students that I keep in contact to this day, you know, that are, you know, trying to further themselves, whatever it be, like whether it be spoken word or hip hop or, you know, just being an entrepreneur or whatnot, you know what I mean? You know, they still call me for advice every day, you know, almost. So it's, you know, there's definitely been some, you know, diamonds in the rough as far as that goes.
That is good to hear because the younger generation gets a bad rap nowadays. But I feel like
a little bit of an unfair one too, I think.
It is a little bit unfair. I feel like people do tend to generalize, you know. I feel like
it does come from
reality. There's a lot of smart kids there for sure.
Well, I always say like it's another, like, that is kind of perspective also. Like you mentioned, there's plenty of kids that they get it and they understand that it is art. But then like the ones that, it's easy to look at a younger generation and say like, oh, they don't appreciate anything because like your examples, like the ones that are, I
feel every generation, right? I feel like that's kind of happened with every generation.
Yeah, know? I just mean like the sour apples are the ones that stick out, like because you just see they're the ones like whining and complaining about like
they're the loudest.
So yeah, exactly. Yeah, and that's the squeaky wheel, and you're just kind of be like, oh, that's all squeaky wheels, even though like the rest of the 17 of them are going fine. But it's it's interesting. I mean, there's probably like a lot of psychology to it, and I'm sure everyone is saying the same thing, but just at different ages of their life. So it's interesting. Yeah.
For sure.
So you were talking about like having time for everything, and I don't know if you mind if we bring this up, and it's not hip hop, but the food.
Cut it out.
we can cut it out if you don't want to, but the food festivals.
The festivals, yeah. I mean, it's festivals in general, yeah. So I help run like a festival company, pretty much, and it is mainly like art festivals, like a place for artists to kind of go and sell their work and you know, be entrepreneurs and make money independently. And, you know,
oh, so this isn't festival as in terms of like music venue.
No
acts. Okay, that's
not at all.
That's
I mean,
what I was picturing.
Eventually, like the goal is to eventually kind of turn into that. You know, but and obviously a lot of this comes from my experience in music, the way I'm able to run these things. But these are mainly for like artists, like whether it be like clothing designers, jewelry designers, you know, independent businesses, everything from, you know, visual artists to people who make fucking, you know, soap and things like that. You know, it's mainly that. I run it with you know, a couple other people, and there's, you know, certain festivals that, you know, we, you know, take more of a lead on. some that neither, like, I don't have anything to do with some of them, you know what I mean? But
Mm.
it mainly started as art festivals, and then naturally it turned into something that we could kind of generate more revenue with, and we started doing food festivals 2 years ago, and everybody eats food. So you guys have probably honestly seen them. We've done like the Boston Food Truck Festival, and
I think
was
Mexican Food Festival. That was us. You know what I mean? Like, that was us. You know
I went
so,
to one in Alston. It was like in a parking lot with a few food trucks, and there was like a band playing off to the side. I forget exactly.
Yeah, that one wasn't us, but I do know what you're talking about. But
okay,
I do get to incorporate that, and eventually that's like I said, that's another side hustle for me that, like, I eventually I'm hoping that one day I can turn into music festivals and things like that. That's kind of all learning the trade of permitting and licensing and all that stuff. That's a whole nother world, man.
God, yeah.
Well, there you go,
Especially when
Bridget.
I go to City Hall meetings looking like this.
So, right. Yeah, you definitely gotta wear a button down for those. People get upset.
Bridging more gaps. That's what I'm saying.
Trying
constantly bridging gaps. When do you get time to sleep, or do you not sleep?
Barely, man. Honestly. But yeah, man. I mean, it's all about, like I was saying earlier. We're not getting any younger. I'm not getting any younger for sure. And
none of us
trying to keep it moving, man. I've always kind of like appreciated and honed the entrepreneur life, and I'll continue to do that forever. So I'm just not the type to sit at a desk, or a cubicle.
Yep.
I mean, But
what's your biggest goal for the next? I mean, I know it's looking out far ahead. Right now is very iffy, but if all goes smoothly and this shit blows over pretty soon, your biggest goals for the next 3 years? Biggest
3
one
years?
goal, or biggest couple goals?
Probably to continue carving out like the path that I'm already on, man. I'd like to, honestly, to be completely honest, I'd like to be doing the soundtrack work full time.
Hell yeah.
Maybe eventually even move out there for a little while, and kind of just station myself out there and work on things like that out there.
Be completely in the zone.
Yeah, I would love to do that, man. I'd love to fucking make $1 million in the next 3 years,
Same, yo.
That's always a goal. But
let us know if you do, because we want to know how.
Yeah, right.
Sure. I mean, like, there's countless goals. I mean, me and my, I'm married to another entrepreneur, and my wife, she owns her own business as well. So like, anything that can kind of, help us continue to carve the path out that we're already on, because both of us have already done things that are mind blowing that we've been able to accomplish. So like to continue that path is, that's the only goal I really have, man. So
Hell yeah. Power couple.
Try not to lose sight. So.
Yeah, like we said at the beginning, I mean, that you have an impressive resume anyways. So just to build on that, like, your foundation is strong. So
I appreciate that, man.
Yeah.
For sure. And it's a testament to your hard work. You got your hands in all these different things, you know what I'm saying?
It's definitely all about the hard work.
You're always going, you're always hustling. One way or another.
Quick question. So I'm still thinking about animation.
Yeah.
Do you ever write, like, are you guys composing alongside the animation, or is that all written and composed? You have
both have happened. The one when I was speaking about earlier that I just started working on a few days ago, I had the animation. They sent me the animation for the scene that I was specifically writing the lyrics for. That one happened that way, but like I said, the other ones have been more like mangas that have been adapted into anime. So I've been able to at least visualize off of just opening the manga book and looking at it, and I've been able to visualize it that way. But mainly they just kind of, a lot of times they call us in and just kind of play us something, and they're like, rap, you know what I mean? I mean,
yeah.
Outside of the anime, like, we've done a ton of like commercial work out in Japan now, like for different like TV commercials and stuff like that. So it's always something different. Like, a lot of times they don't even tell you what this is. Like, I've done commercials and then like had no idea what it was for, and then it comes out and it's like we're fucking something crazy, you know what I mean? So like my producer actually just sent me the other day. Oh, doesn't matter. But he just sent me the list of everything we've done in the past year and a half, as far as like television work goes, and we've done things for Disney Japan, Panasonic, Shishido and Tiffany, like all these
Damn.
like big companies, and like half of them I didn't even know that's what it was.
Right.
Like you go in and they're like, because I think Dave, I played you the Panasonic commercial, right?
Yeah.
Like you would not expect some like Tribe Called Quest sounding hip hop to be on a Panasonic commercial, and it wasn't even about an electronic. It was about like a plate, like a dinner plate.
Yeah, it really was.
A dinner plate, and they're playing like this hip hop track in the background, and then you hear Paranorm's voice all of a sudden like shoot through the commercial, and it's like, oh, so that's what this was for. I even did like a commercial for like a golf supply company in Japan, and didn't think they'd want like boom bap hip hop for that, but hey,
Hey, whatever.
If you don't
right?
mind me asking, does that get like, was that a one-time deal, or do you guys get like royalties for those plays, or is that like
they're all different. They're all different. It all depends on what the company's hiring you for. A lot of times it's just like an upfront, like you come in, you get paid, you do your work, and you leave. You know what I mean? But certain other things, like things that are like reoccurring, like TV shows and things like that, as long as an artist has their BMI and all that stuff straight, which is like your publishing and your royalties and things like that, then you're able to collect, which is obviously the biggest thing, and that's legitimately what keeps like artists like me alive, because that's kind of what you rely on, because nobody's obviously buying albums or anything anymore. So it's like when you can find a way to generate like sync money, which is really what it is, that's kind of how it is, and to be able to like benefit off anything that your name is presented on, which is what I was touching on earlier about like having so many different names, because different companies put me out for different things. It's like, it's almost like making sure that only so much can happen here, only so much can happen here, or this name isn't connected to this name, and it's all a big mess sometimes, man, but it's just the way of the industry,
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of
Trying
red
to
tape.
stretch all out.
For
Different pieces of Voltron.
For sure.
I just thought, sorry, I was just
good.
to finish that thought, I was thinking, I just thought that was interesting, like timing, like crashes in the certain sounds in your music to what could be animated. So yeah, but that whole process is, I'm sure, very comprehensive.
Yeah, definitely. But like I said, it is still like, it is easier than having to write an album, for sure.
Yeah.
It is a lot easier, which is why, not even to sound lazy, but it's why I'd rather just do this, forever,
Yeah.
So when's the last time you put out an album?
2017. No, well, actually, I just put that vinyl out last October.
Okay,
but
yeah.
That was different though. Like, like that's why I kind of like overlook it sometimes. But because it was strictly for vinyl collectors. Like, I never, in all my years of making music, I never had put out my own vinyl, and I've been a vinyl collector my whole life. So
Right.
I just wanted to put a vinyl out.
It was more like a milestone.
It really was, yeah. And there was a theme around it too. So it was, like I said, it was with a non-hip hop producer technically, and it was technically to make like a kung fu flick on wax. You know what I mean? So like that was kind of the
That's dope.
The aura around it, and like I said, you can't really the song with Cannabis is actually on there, but that's the only one that's like streamable from that whole project. It's literally only available at record stores, like old school ways. So like if anyone would want that, you'd have to go to like your local record store and buy it. It's the only way to really listen to that one.
Which record stores around here could we find it at?
Pretty much everyone here.
Okay.
Vinyl Index is where I would always steer people to. I don't know if you guys have been there, but it's owned by 7L from Czarface.
Word.
He owns it. It's in Somerville.
Yep.
If you were to go anywhere, I would suggest going there anyways and being able to kind of check that place out, because
I'm going
he's got
there.
a real dope thing going there, because he's like it's more like kind of like, even like he calls it Vinyl Index because it's almost like a library. It's almost like his personal collection that he's kind of selling, and he has the information on everything, man. And
that's fire.
Even just to go in there,
I'm definitely going there.
Like 7L about like these records that you're buying, you know what I mean? It's a huge thing,
Yeah.
But they all have it. Cheapo Records in Cambridge has it. In your ear records, anywhere that sells vinyl in the state pretty much has it. Unless it's gone. I mean, I had a limited amount, but
well, you had done
I'm gonna have to hit y'all off with one note.
Hell yeah, fire.
Word.
That was when you had the release party at, what was it, the witch
Witch Doctor, yeah, and Salem.
yeah, the witch
Those
doctor.
are my homies, man.
I was gonna say that, but I didn't know if that was the same spot. So
yeah, it was. Yeah, we had a listening party there. I mean, they're
That
actually
place is cool.
You been there?
Yeah,
Yeah,
they should.
so
They
they,
got like live glass blowing and stuff. It's
Yep.
wicked cool.
Yeah, so they actually sponsor me. They're anytime I perform at a state or anything like that, they're kind of my sponsor. So they
shit.
kind of keep me worked up, man. They're those are my dudes over there.
that's dope.
Yeah, so that was a listening party. That was the first time I had like a listening party as opposed to an album release party because I just didn't want to deal with the stress of booking a release party and like booking acts on a release party and having the anxiety leading up to the night, and
Yeah,
probably would have been at the Middle East, and then you have the anxiety of filling the Middle East and putting the right people on, and then people getting mad at you because you didn't put them on. And so instead of that, I was like, just come here to watch live glass blowing and listen to the album. It's a lot easier,
That's a great idea.
Chill, yeah. No, that's
exactly.
perfect.
Plus, it was in Salem in October, so like naturally, kind of created a crowd for me, anyways. So
there you go. That's perfect.
I might have popped in there. I've popped into the Witch Doctor like after hours, and there's just been like a million people in there.
Yeah,
and like I just opened the door. I like walked in. I'm like, there's a party going on. I'm like, all right, no one's like checking the door. It's happened like a couple times to me where I'm like, it's supposed to.
That's how it goes over there, man.
Yeah, it's
Don't
pretty
be
funny.
blowing up their spot on.
Hey, yeah, sorry. This was a couple of years ago, honestly, but I love go to Salem in October, first of all. But yeah, Witch Doctor is the spot. They got everything there. And yeah, I mean, honestly, that's like awesome. Did you just contact the store and they let you do that, or do you know?
No, so I actually met them through the festivals I throw. They came to vend at one of the festivals. It's one we used to run in the South End. They were like reoccurring vendors there, and then he had already known who I was due to like he's the owner of the company, Derek. He's a big fan of underground hip hop, so he was kind of already familiar with me. And then like it's like, oh, you run this shit, you know what I mean? And then kind of talk, and he started sponsoring me as far as like it first started with just like me always rocking their stuff on stage and whatnot, but kind of turned into like a friendship. So they've supported me through a ton of stuff. Even like if you look at if you go on my Spotify profile, the Aztech from Hybrid Thoughts one, the main picture they have there is me blowing glass at Witch Doctor. So it's
no shit. That's fire.
Yeah, those are my peoples over there, man. And it's it's honestly also tapping into an area that like a lot of hip hop doesn't tap into. Like every rapper I know smokes weed, but like they don't really like that world doesn't intertwine much, with the exception of like one specific kind of crowd. You got like your Snoop Dogg's and Devin the Dudes and people that have dedicated their whole life to like
Wiz
weed.
Khalifa.
Like, a regular rapper, smokes weed too. So like it's to have that kind of connection is almost natural.
Right.
And from that, I performed at the Hemfest for what was it, 11 years straight. And
I was gonna say,
man,
you
11 years straight.
I actually, up until last year, I actually held the record for most consecutive. Stopped last year because I kind of waved goodbye to that whole thing. But
it's been smaller, right? I stopped by.
Well, it's just different now, man. It's not the same anymore. It's just
less of a protest when it's legal.
Now that it's legal,
and it's also just turned into some other shit. You know what I mean? So like it's just
the dudes with the balloons and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just not my thing anymore. But
it'll probably never be the same as it was.
Never. No. But that's not to say like the Hemfests were like my first experiences with like performing with a festival-sized crowd. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I was super young, performing to 50,000 people. You know what I mean? And I remember going there. I was like 12, 13 years old and being able to perform with that shit, man.
That's crazy.
It's pretty crazy, but yeah, like that's kind of like a lot. When I saw like how festivals are ran was from that stuff, and that's kind of like what helped me push to like being more involved. And the festivals that I'm involved in now, I got involved in because my wife was vending at them, when I had met her, and then I kind of like got my way in the door of doing the same thing. So
hell yeah,
yeah. So it's
Need I say it again? Bridging the gaps.
Trying, man.
Constantly. Yeah. you know, it's
When are we doing a track, man? We never done a track yet.
I know. I
Hey,
said I was
make it
just thinking.
happen. Let's go.
I know. I was thinking. I mean, I talked to you a couple of weeks ago. I told you I was gonna send you a beat, but I obviously stupidly forgot to. So I can send it over to you. But yeah, no, we definitely will. We got to make it happen. We're overdue. We definitely are. Now that I'm getting.
Do you speak? I'm sorry, this is on the same topic. Do you have recording equipment of your own?
I don't. Well, I have like minimal stuff. You know what I mean? You can see
Okay.
some shit back here, but like I have like minimal stuff, like a MIDI controller and like a simple, tiny, like way to record like shitty vocals. But no, so I haven't really been able to make any music during this whole thing, which has been killing me.
Man.
But that's why we'll so I'm able to write the stuff for these animes, but like I'm just recording like a shitty version just so who I'm writing it for can hear how it's supposed to sound. But I haven't been able to make my own music this whole time, man. It's killing me.
Well, now
What
that
if I
you
told you that Easty and I were able to do a socially distanced recording session in a garage this quarantine? We can make it happen.
I'm with it.
Yeah, all right. You heard it here first, folks. It can still happen. You can stay safe.
We live what, like right around the corner from each other, right? So
yeah.
Oh
absolutely.
yeah, no, it wasn't.
Happen.
It wasn't my garage. It was the
Okay.
actually the garage at work. But
I got you.
We'll blow up that
still,
spot.
even
yeah.
still, it's only a hop, skip, and a
South
jump
Shore.
on the highway.
You know?
We'll take a ride.
I'm
We'll
with
take
it,
the
man.
ride.
I'm with it.
What was I gonna say? Going off of that, yeah, we were able to get that done. But when you had brought up the
Who's that?
There he is.
huh?
Your
lost
little
you for a
picture
second.
came up.
That was my little I don't know. I got a little thing came up on the screen there. I don't know.
Yeah, it's you smoking a cigar. It's good.
But when you were saying how you had said you're basically making references for the dudes to record the same sounds.
They're actually chicks this time, which is cool.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Do you do it like a female voice, or do you just do your own voice?
No, I'm writing for a female.
Okay.
Oh, so you don't like
To vocalize.
pre-record what they're supposed to say? Okay.
No. Well, I do, but it's just for them to hear how it's supposed to sound, and then they record their own vocals. But
Oh, okay. See, if I was
I'm gonna hear
referencing,
some Japanese chick rapping my lyrics soon. So it'll be pretty funny.
oh, interesting.
Well, so that's what I was going to ask, because you had said before, like they don't the people that you send them to don't always speak like great English or anything. So have you heard anything that you've written for someone yet?
Not yet.
No.
So this is the first time I've actually like done any kind of like ghostwriting work for anything over there. So it'll be interesting, man. I mean, I'm used to just hearing myself on these things, which was mind blowing in itself. But like now to hear someone else doing it's gonna be pretty interesting. So this is a whole new one. So.
That's that's like got to be a 3 or 4 person job, right? Like you recording,
at
one
least.
or 2 people are proofreading first, like because they have to be bilingual, and then whoever's saying it. So that's I mean, I'm sure like I've seen. I forget where I'd seen this before, but it was an American example of someone doing Spanish. I think they were singing Spanish, but they didn't speak Spanish, so they had it like to the notes broken down like phonetically. So they're basically just saying like the syllables. So that's like where they were exactly described, and they had no idea really what they were saying. But yeah, that's interesting, and I'm sure that's how they do it. But that's not like under your responsibility. You don't have to break it down.
No, I write it, then I give it to them, and then they kind of handle it.
No, well, that makes sense, because that would probably require like an understanding of Japanese too, so that'd be hard.
Exactly.
Explain. So.
Exactly, and I do not speak Japanese, so
yeah.
That's dope, though. I mean, like you said, it's kind of like you just write it, and then you let them take the wheel. Jesus, take the wheel. Let you guys take it.
Sure.
For
sure.
And then it just. That's crazy. It's always, if it's not one thing, it's another that you seem to always be making strides in, and
I work for myself, man, so I don't really have a choice a lot, so it's, if I don't,
but
if I'm not doing something, I'm not living. So.
Oh, for sure. No, but you you do that. You always bring it back to music. And like you said, you've done music almost 3/4 of your life, so it's kind of like what and everything.
Second
but-
nature at this point.
Yeah, but how you it almost like from an outsider's perspective, and obviously there's a lot of hard work that goes into it, but you're the type of person that makes it seem so effortless when you do it. You're like,
I think that's on account of I don't really like. You'll notice I don't really like talk too much on social media and shit like that. I kind of just put things up, and it just looks like I'm just doing this, that, and the other, and I'm not documenting, the hours.
You let your
weeks
work
and
speak
months
for
that
itself.
exactly.
Yeah, I don't.
Right.
I don't really like. Yeah, I don't really like talk a lot about the process. I don't really talk a lot about what leads up to it. I kind of just I finish something, I put it out. Here it is. You know what I mean? And
Yeah, as
which
long
is
as people
sometimes
see the
a
results,
curse,
that's
but,
all
like-
that matters. You don't
Exactly.
need to do all that talking and promoting. People see the results. That's what matters.
right.
Seeds grow in silence.
Yeah, for sure.
Trees make sound when they fall.
G's move
You
in
know what I'm
silence
saying?
like lasagna.
That's true. That also is true.
Right?
Yeah.
So do you think Hybrid Thoughts, if you guys finish an album, you guys gonna do a whole release assuming that venues are open back up soon,
Yeah, definitely,
obviously.
man. It all just has to do with timing. We're like a decently sized group, so just schedules all have to work out, and time just has to make sense. That's all. I mean, I would love to finish one by the end of the year, man. I mean, my favorite, like I always say, man, like I always feel like I belong in a group as far as music goes. You know what I mean? I think I'm more tailored to being in a group than being a solo artist, to be honest with you.
Why is that?
I don't know, man. It's always been just, I think, like a comfortability thing. And like all my favorite acts growing up were all groups, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I've always kind of like eyed in on being like that dude in a group, you know what I mean?
Word.
Like my favorite artists, I mean, two are both Wu-Tang and Outkast are my two favorites. So like
Yeah.
those are two groups. And I've always like looked at the members of these groups as like, entities within something bigger, So like that's kind of how I always like envisioned myself as being in a group. And I love making solo records, but even if you look at my solo records, they're full of features because
Right.
I like working with other people. I like being in studio sessions with other people and bouncing off their energy and things like that. And
Getting different vibes, different ideas.
It's a lot different, especially being on stage, man. Like you're in a group, man.
Yep.
It's a whole different thing. Like having your clan with you, man. You know what I mean? And like you're kind of all going to one thing, and it's a big difference, And solo stuff gets lonely, man. But
Absolutely, yeah.
it's necessary though sometimes. But that's why like even like my solo projects have all either been with like one specific producer, so it still ends up being like kind of a group project, anyways.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think I'm just more tailored to like being part of a collective rather than just being one single thing as far as music goes. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I think that ties into just having fun with it. Like when you're with friends, people that you're vibing with, and like you're just like you're all together, and like you said, like on stage when you're with your friends, like you can kind of be a little more charismatic. It almost seems like it's not just like spotlight on you and like you kind of freeze. Like even
Yeah,
like
I mean, you're comfortable with your homies. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
it makes it more comfortable because you're with people
exactly.
that you know and you respect them and you're comfortable with them.
Exactly.
And it spreads some of the responsibility, like each of you are responsible for the business. So it's not just like, oh my God, I have to think about my merch. I have to think about, am I making money on this show? Like there's a bunch of you guys here just like, all right, this is what we're doing tonight. This is fun. And like recording's probably fun too. Just like being in the booth, recording whatever you want, like with your friends all night. Like it's a totally different vibe than like we were saying earlier than just like nose to the grindstone work. Like it kind of, that can drive you nuts a little bit. So yeah, I totally understand that. I'm probably that way myself if I were to be an artist. So that would definitely make sense.
No doubt.
And we've said before in different episodes, it takes a team really to make any type of success, like whether it's business, music, or like whatever you're trying to do in life. You can't really just lone wolf it. You need specialists in each area, and there's always.
The number one thing for accomplishing anything is developing a strong team behind your.
Absolutely,
That all believe in the same
nobody
thing,
can do it by themselves.
It's impossible, literally impossible.
You are you a fan of Griselda?
Oh yeah. If there's any like new artists that I'm a fan of, it's definitely them.
Right.
Like,
when you mention groups and you talk about like Wu-Tang, I was thinking about like some newer groups that you like, and I was like, definitely Griselda.
For
Definitely
sure.
Griselda.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the fucked up thing about like the new music, man, is like I don't really like pay attention to names a lot.
Right.
Because I'm always just kind of listening, and like I'll always forget to kind of like lift up the phone and look at who it is. But there's a lot of new cats I like a lot, man.
Yeah.
And it's tough. There's so much music now. It's tough to even keep up. But
Right.
For
I
sure.
mean, locally too, man. There's a lot of dope cats coming out of here now.
Absolutely.
Like locally, even like Leeds does that Leeds local thing now, and I went to a couple of those for the specific reason of trying to see who's new here. You know what I mean? Like, and I'm always looking too, man. Like, I'm not an executive by any means, but like, I'm always looking too for like a new person to kind of, work with and kind of.
Oh, we're always looking for
develop,
sure. There's a lot of talent out there right now.
Yeah, for sure, man.
A lot of talent.
If I were to point you in any
Jack.
specific direction right now, I would say Hero DMC recently changed his name.
Yeah, he changed his name.
I figured I wanted to put that on wax right now. Hero DMC.
I actually saw him. I saw him perform at one of those, the Leeds local.
Okay.
I went there with Cloak and Dagger, did like a beat showcase, and he was actually performing at that same show. He's good, man. He's got that old school MC vibe.
He definitely has the old school vibe, and he's a young kid too. He's only like 21.
Right.
And he's got that old school, that 90s spirit to him.
That's what we need, man.
Right.
Hell yeah.
C4 is another one.
He's dope. He was there that same night.
I was just gonna say, I think he had been there that same night because I had said it on C4's podcast that I felt like he might have known Hero. So
that's
dope
really
to see young kids and he's only like 18. That's dope to see young kids like that who have that energy.
It's awesome. Yeah, I mean, it's great. When you see that raw talent, it's going to be, I mean, it's just like there's so many years to come at that time. Like, I mean, you see some people making moves not until like, when was the Slim Shady LP dropped? He was 27, I think.
Right.
Was he really?
I think so, yeah.
Jay-Z was 26 when he dropped Reasonable Doubt.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, I mean, there's so many people like you can look back at and see what age that like.
Although Nas was 17 when he dropped Illmatic, so.
He was.
So yeah, these names that we're mentioning right now, this is going down in history. Everyone in here is going to be going down in history.
Who, Nas?
No, us.
I was going to say, Nas is already in history. What are you talking about?
No, new history. This is it right now. This picture is going to be everywhere. I'm sorry, guys. I just felt like, who knows? Maybe that's going to get pulled someday, and we will be famous.
So back to the anime, the ones that you've been a part of, and I don't know if you can say this or not, but do you have like a specific favorite that you like, a specific show that you love doing scores for? And everything?
Yeah, it was definitely Dr. Stone, like for sure. And a lot of it probably has to do with how much the show blew up, which forced me to really look at it more. Like it's on Adult Swim, like right now, literally. You know what I mean? Well, like
that's crazy.
It's on demand on Adult Swim. It aired on Adult Swim fully, and and that was the second one we did. And after the success of the first one, I didn't think anything was gonna like kind of match. That was like the first one's always the biggest one, the best one. And then this one came along, was even better. And like I said, I'm an anime head anyway, so like I originally just started watching it to hear the songs and see how they looked on the show and everything, and then that naturally made me watch the show. And like the whole concept is crazy, man. Like if you guys get a chance, definitely check it out. Like the concept of the show is like this dude gets frozen in time and like a stone, and then like he awakens like hundreds and hundreds of years later, but like the apocalypse has already happened. So this dude that was frozen in time has to teach everybody like how to do basic shit, like how to make things, how to just do all this stuff. And like the main song that plays when he's like teaching people is my solo track on the soundtrack, where it's like it's called I'm a Human. And it's pretty much just showing like other humans how to do basic things, man. And it's pretty dope.
Awesome. Cool. Hell yeah. I'm definitely gonna check it out.
Yeah, it's on. Like if you go on like demand, it's on Adult Swim right now.
I think I don't have on demand, but I got Hulu. I think I got Adult Swim on Hulu.
Word.
So
yeah,
I'll definitely. I could probably. Yeah. I mean, would I be able to catch it on YouTube if I can't catch it anywhere else?
Probably.
Yeah.
You'll find it.
Yeah, one way or another, I'll find
It's a
I'm gonna
popular
find it.
show. Just think, if you definitely look it up, it'll be somewhere for sure.
Yeah.
Word.
Hell yeah. So so obviously we had talked about you releasing some new records soon. Hopefully, the Dusty Stereo. Where would that be on? Aztech of Hybrid Thoughts?
Aztech from Hybrid
that-
Thoughts, yeah.
Is
It's funny.
so
It's
is that
actually Aztech from Hybrid Thoughts, and I know like typically when like a dude from a group puts music, it's like of the group, but this once again was the label. So that happened with the Dr. Stone stuff because that's how they credited me as
Yeah.
Aztech from Hybrid Thoughts, and that's where the bigger numbers were coming from. So like if I'm gonna verify any name, it's gonna be that name because that's the
Right.
name that's getting all the numbers. So
Right.
I was gonna
so,
say that's where
yeah,
everyone can find
Aztech
you.
from Hybrid Thoughts is the one.
Dope.
Yeah,
And is that on? I got Spotify, so that's what I'm looking at. But
yeah,
is that
Spotify.
is that
But
everywhere?
yeah, that stretches through all the streaming stuff. Yeah, but Spotify is what I use as the indicator. Definitely, I feel like that's what everybody uses mostly. So.
Right.
Yeah,
Pretty much. Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah, all
So,
that's on there. All the soundtrack works on there.
Perfect.
I put a single out on there like a month ago. It was actually like an old track I had laying around that I just decided to put out. So probably do a lot of that during this too. I got a lot of stuff that never came out, like I said. So I'm just gonna kind of gradually just keep putting stuff out, just to kind of keep some stuff generating, man.
Exactly. Staying relevant. Not like you're not staying relevant between everything else that you're doing, but at least like you said, keep dropping the solo stuff out there,
yeah.
and even if it's not solo, keep dropping the stuff. Everything, it's all. I don't want to make it sound like a means to an end, but it's all part of the process.
It is.
For the love of the game, as they say.
It is.
So I got no more questions. I ask you questions anyways when I see you. So, but as far as my questions, I think I've exhausted my questions. I put you on the spot definitely enough
good,
times
man.
tonight.
No, this is
Family stuff.
we're at a good amount of time right now. It's been like an hour and a half, hour,
No doubt.
a little more than that. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
I'm
we
getting just
definitely
about sick of everyone here. No, I'm just
Yeah,
kidding.
I'm fucking done.
No doubt.
I'm just kidding. No,
No,
this has
but we
been good.
definitely,
This has been good. Thank you for
so
coming on.
Yeah, thank
Yeah,
y'all, man.
Appreciate
it.
it.
This was dope.
Thank you.
Yeah, it
So
was
when
awesome. Yeah, thank you.
we got to have you come back on, when the quarantine's over, we can all get together. We gotta have
Yeah,
you
man,
come
I can't
back.
wait to start doing actual podcasts together
Yeah,
again.
I
It's gonna be
bet.
great.
I know. I know. Look at his fucking screen behind him. Look at the
I know,
Boston's
right? I
Big
got this thing,
Podcast.
and now I'm the only one that can use it. I got
So,
this. You like my sign too?
I know, dude. You
Social
got
distancing. I
6
stole that
feet.
from work.
I bet you did. Did you pull it right off the floor?
No, there was some extra ones in the back room.
Nice.
Yep, grabbed it, put it under my jacket, walked out.
There you go.
Yep,
Well, yeah, we'll
Cut that part
definitely.
it's fine. They don't care.
But when we're all good with this Corona stuff and we can all start, chilling again, we'll definitely have to have you back on and
Yeah, for sure.
For sure.
promote some new work for you. And
Definitely trying to catch a show too when those start happening again.
Yeah,
Yes,
100%,
exactly.
100%.
Awesome. Well, we appreciate you, and I'll definitely be sending you some beats too. Don't worry about
no
that.
doubt. Let's do it.
I'll be in touch. All right.
Yeah,
do
you
it.
guys got to get a track together.
100%. We'll make it happen for sure.
Word.
Yes, we will. Maybe even quarantined.
Yeah, I'm with it.
All right. You have a good night,
Peace,
brother.
man.
All right, peace.
Love.
Thank you.
Peace.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Thank
Peace.
you. Peace.
gang.